Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and something I forgot to go over the other day. I had put this clip out about XRP yield. We hear a lot of people in the XRP community talking about getting yield and all that. And let me tell you, I've been in this for over 10 years. I've had my channel for over 7 years. And let me tell you what I've learned. Never in crypto, because it's so young of an industry, even to this day, until we get regulations, anytime you try to jump at the next flashy thing, whether it's yield or lending or any of these things, be very careful. Or whether it's a new wallet or whatever, new exchange, don't jump the second I can get 3 or 5% yield or whatever. Don't jump at this stuff, folks, because there's a lot of risks associated with things like this. That's why I'm not participating in anything giving me yield right now. I'm sitting back waiting on regulations, and I'm waiting on like legit companies, preferably like if somebody like Bank of America, I could put my XRP there and get a yield, or get it with one of the reputable exchanges that's been around for a long time. Or, and when long time in crypto to me is at least, you can find places that are 5 years old. That's a tracker of people that have been through ups and downs, brutal market pullbacks and all the different things, and survived and didn't lose anybody's crypto and all that stuff. That's what Zach Rector and Jim Bazzani from Caleb and Brown, who is my partner, that's what they're talking about here.
And so right now, making sure that you have sufficient liquidity, and if something does happen, making sure that your assets are bankruptcy remote, have bankruptcy remote protection. Somebody asked about that too. So can you just reiterate how your platform's a little bit more safe maybe than some of these platforms that are out offering 500x leverage to a bunch of degenerates? Welcome to the crypto space, right? Versus your platform, which is just simply doing spot trading with that bankruptcy remote protection as well too.
Yeah, it's a great point. We know that yield generation is something that we're all interested in. I personally, in the past, hunted yields to my dismay. Often at times we've seen, especially in 2021, we saw Celsius, BlockFi, a number of these protocols offer yields. And what you don't realize is that, wow, I'm getting these amazing APYs, but on the back end, my assets are actually at quite significant risk. And that's something that we always encourage for even our clients that want to chase yield elsewhere. Do so, but understand the risks associated, whether it's counterparty risk, as you mentioned. If it's an asset like XRP that you're being offered yields on, well, it's a non-native staking asset. So it means that they're probably loaning out your assets elsewhere to earn a yield, or they're using something like the Flare network to wrap that XRP into Flare and earn.
And I'll make a point here. I don't care what it is. Don't, especially right now, don't loan your XRP out right now. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yield that way, but that has smart contract risk associated with it as well. So nothing's ever free in this world. If you are going to be offered a yield, there is some sort of risk associated with it. And then it's really up to the client whether their risk profile associates.
And on that, loaning your XRP out, folks, until this we in XRP, in all crypto, you have massive pullbacks. Now is not the time to get into loaning your XRP out. When this market is a lot more mature and stable, then that's something I'll start thinking about, but not, and again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you my thoughts.
Having that underlying asset become at risk to earn that yield or not. And so as a business, as you mentioned, we've very much operated on a risk-off approach. So we just provide spot trading. We aren't exposing client assets to any counterparty risk or any other risk out there. So ultimately, it's up to the client and their risk profile. I would just ensure that you're doing your due diligence. The XRP ledger and all the DeFi capabilities on the AAM are becoming very exciting. It's still relatively new and nascent. So it's important that clients do understand that if you are going to try and earn a yield somewhere, that there are risks associated with that. In terms of how we hussy assets into, as you mentioned, bankruptcy remote, again, some sort of
Okay, you get the gist of it. Right now, Caleb and Brown does not offer yield, and the reason, I don't want to speak for them, but in so many words, the reason is because of how young this industry is. Until you get yield opportunities where you're not putting those client assets at major risk and lending them out and all that, they're not comfortable yet. A lot of people aren't comfortable yet. It's too early to be comfortable yet, in my opinion. But what I'm focused on, and in my opinion, everybody should be focused on right now, pre-regulations, which we should get in October. Your only focus should be on having your digital assets somewhere safe. Caleb and Brown's one of the places I use because I get free institutional custody. We're sitting close to We're sitting close to $3. We dip below $3. I might be in a position here shortly to buy more XRP, and it's really simple. I'll send Caleb and Brown an email and I'll say, hey, I got some cash there, buy XRP with all of it. And then the next thing I know, 5 or 10 minutes later, I get an email confirming that acknowledging my email. Then I get another email with a PDF attached that shows me the entire trade and exactly what the fees are and all the stuff. It's great. I have somebody I can email or talk to, a broker over there. Okay, if you wanted to open a Caleb and Brown account, to get to my page on Caleb and Brown, you go to xrpwealth589.com. It'll forward you right there. So the market's kind of flat right now. Nothing really interesting there. This is interesting, though. The FOMC, Federal Reserve, will make a decision on interest rates this Wednesday. What do you think they'll decide? We had Jerome Powell with Trump. I thought that the more appropriate helmet would be the one that destroyed Michael Dukakis's career in the tank. It's one of the funniest photos ever, videos, whatever. That would have been, I wonder if somebody can put a helmet like that on Jerome. I don't have the skills to do that, but it just felt appropriate. Here's Paul Barron since September 17th Fed meeting, 25 basis point cut expected with rates heading 3% by 2025. Bitcoin bulls think lower yields risk on, but there's a catch most are missing. Treasury is about to flood the market with $3 to $5 trillion in new debt. Here's the plot twist. While the Fed cuts rates to push yields down, massive Treasury issuance will push yields up. Fed policy lower short-term rates, fiscal policy higher long-term yields and debt supply. Result, the yield curve could steepen dramatically, keeping financial conditions tighter than expected, softer risk assets. We're going to find out, folks. Now, these guys are finding out. They are deploying all their media assets. Make no mistake, the last 10 years of attacks on crypto have been because from the Federal Reserve and the banks trying to stop crypto. They're deploying their media assets, and what they're trying to do now is they're painting this Trump's trying to become the dictator of money. They've been fine with the Federal Reserve being the dictator of money for all these decades, and that's their whole media infrastructure. They all control that message. That's why every time you turn on CNBC, all the Federal Reserve talk is pro-Federal Reserve. Oh, what are they going to do? We need to find out. They're elevating the Fed's importance constantly. That's what it's been about. Crypto's about to level the playing field, and they don't like it. So what they're using, the same playbook that they've used on Trump for all these years, is make it about Trump. Trump's trying to be a dictator, all this stuff about Trump. When the truth of the matter is, crypto is what can set us all free.
I think the headline here is that we goof on Trump a lot, and I've found myself burying the lead of this story, so I'm really happy that you brought this out in this way to start with. The lead is that he is building a shadow central bank operation with this stablecoin enterprise that he is building on the side, and independent, and Congress at the moment is laying the groundwork for him to become, post-presidency, one of the chief primary architects of central banking in the world, accountable to nobody. That's the headline, and it's frightening. I think it's above the pay grade of many of our representatives, frankly, and I don't mean to besmirch them. I think that this is a difficult topic, and it's one of these things that brings in the crypto industry, and so there's a lot of emotion about that. It brings in Fed policy. Obviously, there's a lot of emotion about that because you can run the gamut with that of people that want to, quote unquote, end the Fed, Trump who wants to control the Fed, and people that want it to remain an independent body. And then what are Treasury policies going to be relative to our enormous debt? And it all kind of plays together. The last line of the lead is, if he pulls this off in the way that he is crafting it and architecting it right now, post-presidency, the worse the economy gets and the higher the yield on our Treasury goes as a result of it, the more money he stands to make. And to me, that's when I just raised the flag and said, oh man, this doesn't help anybody anywhere except for Donald and his sons.
So let's figure out what this isn't so that you can explain to us what it is. So this isn't like him selling steaks or sneakers or anything else, him just cashing in on the cachet of being president in ways that nobody else ever has. This is different?
This is very different. And in fact, I think one of the, we have to give it to him that he is a brilliant tactician in that he throws everything against the wall. So in this mix, you have the Trump meme coins. The Trump meme coins is Trump steak. That's the distraction. It's Trump University. It's a get-rich-quick scheme. There's no there. The stablecoin regime that he is architecting, building, and it exists already. He's already making money from it, is something that Congress is, I think, half of Congress is about to unwittingly mint him as a shadow central bank. So these are two very distinct things. This is not the Trump stake. He has that too, and that's part of what is confusing the whole message out there.
What is stablecoin, and why do I care if he's doing it versus anybody else?
So it's interesting that they've started, whenever the administration starts talking about something that's not on the radar, I think as journalists, we should all assume there's something going on there because there's no reason or rationale that they would be talking about it. You know, all of a sudden set money free, and you've got Ted Cruz out there being like set crypto free and stable coins, and Scott Bessent making the rounds on all the financial channels saying that stable coins, which already represent the 18th largest buyer of U.S. Treasuries, which is something that we kind of need to, that's the reaction that I had, is there are more in stablecoin purchases of our treasuries than Germany buys U.S. treasuries, just to kind of put it in context.
So they're buying treasuries. Like, that part is a little bit of a layup. Why would a stablecoin? Because stablecoin tells you what it's trying to be in its name. It's a cryptocurrency that wants to have an anchored valuation, which is what it doesn't have, which is why everybody's afraid of it. That and quantum computers, which may be able to steal your money as a function of its own sophistication. But so buying treasuries makes sense for a stable coin vendor because they're trying to anchor the value of it. So if they have a certain amount of money in treasuries, the treasuries are a stable anchor for something that wants to be seen as stable. Where does it get janky?
So stablecoins by design are supposed to buy treasuries. It doesn't have to be ours, mind you. It could buy a store of value. U.S. Treasuries happen to be recognized up until this Trump administration as probably the most stable and resilient measure that you could have as a store of value. Gold is another one. There are other currencies and other mixes that some...
So think about for a minute what these guys want. They're fine with the Federal Reserve. That's the dictator of money that they're okay with. The Federal Reserve was made private by design, so that they can point at that and say, "Oh, that's an independent agent. That's its own. It's private," and they could pretend like it was not politically influenced by one side, which is exactly what it's been. Meanwhile, what are stable coins? It would be many private companies that are issuing the stable coins. So it's kind of like dispersing all of that control from one place to a lot of places. That's a good thing to me.
Some of the stable coins will put into play, so it's a mixed bag of treasuries along with some gold. But the leading stable coins that exist already in the market, one is called USDC, which is from Circle, and that's, those are theoretically from the United States. Those are our guys. USDT, which is Tether. Tether's a little problematic right now because they just moved their global headquarters to El Salvador to be closer to Bukele. That in and of itself should raise some flags for, I think, the United States and treasury purchases. And then you have the new upstart, which is now the fastest growing one, which is USD1, and that is the Trump family stablecoin. Now, a stablecoin has to purchase a store of value, U.S. Treasuries being the best ones to buy, so that there's a one-to-one relationship to it, so that if...
But they buy currencies, they buy...
Okay, I already went over. I got a lot more. I'm going to cover it in the group. Go to daixrp.com, which is the Patreon. If you'd rather join through YouTube, click join below any of these videos. If you'd rather join through the X platform, hit subscribe. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Away we go.